Over 260 French citizens have been killed in terrorist attacks since 2012. France's Ministry of the Interior stated there were almost 1,000 anti-Christian hate crimes in France in 23 alone. Earlier this year, a cemetery in southwest France was vandalized with graffiti written in French and Arabic. The messages include, quote, "Submit to Allah, and France is already Allah's." In May, at a church in western France, benches were set on fire and a statue of Mary was beheaded. Last week, in a town in northern France, an arsonist burned down another church. This one was built in the 1800s. Police suspect arson. Apparently, burning down churches has been a frequent occurrence in France for several years now. In 2021, the president of the Paris-based Observatory of Religious Heritage reported that a church is destroyed in France every 2 weeks, with 2/3 of them caused by arson. Wow, maybe it's global warming. Meanwhile, he said a new mosque is built every 15 days in France. There are around 6.7 million Muslims in France, about 10% of the French population. Now, this is where it gets dicey for the globalist progressives. How do you keep the immigration flowing while also trying to defend against terrorist attacks like public school teachers being beheaded and, churches being burned down? I know. Government regulation. Sure, guys, that'll fix it. Listen to this description of President Macron's plan to reform Islam in France. See if any part sounds vaguely familiar to you. Quote, "The centerpiece of Macron's proposal is to certify and train imams in France. The proposed measures also include offering Arabic instruction in public schools, tightening control on private religious education, limiting homeschooling, and cracking down on speech and activities that contradict so-called French Republican values, such as gender-segregated hours at municipal swimming pools." I get it. And the Muslims are going to line up for the government teaching the imams. They're going to love it, and everything's going to change. They've been like this for almost 2,000 years. Yeah, they're going to change on a dime. Across Europe, churches are closing in droves. They're being converted into gyms, restaurants, hotels, and nightclubs. Well, there's no definite account or definitive account on the number of mosques that open in Europe every year. A 2019 book by 2 French journalists called The Qatar Papers, How Doha Finances the Muslim Brotherhood in Europe, revealed that the Qatar Charity, an NGO run by the Qatari royal family, has spent over $80 million in recent years to fund 140 mosques and Islamic center projects across Europe. Meanwhile, in Germany alone, 650 Catholic churches have closed down since 2005. Germany has an estimated 2,800 mosques and 4.6 million Muslims, who make up just over 5.5% of the overall German population. Go team go, I think is what they're saying. That was an Islamist rally. Over 1,000 people in Hamburg in April this year. They got together. They were also calling for an Islamic caliphate. Where have I heard that word before? And Sharia law. Who doesn't love that? Well, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, he reacted to the rally by saying there would be consequences. Ooh, that terrified the group that was calling for Sharia law. Oh, what is he going to do? Germany's most recent terror-related crisis happened a few weeks ago at the Festival of Diversity. Yeah, it's in a small town in Germany. A 26-year-old asylum seeker from Syria stabbed and killed 3 people and wounded 8 others. Those damn knives. Now, he was supposed to be deported in 2023, but they couldn't get around to it. The suspect was arrested, reportedly confessed to the crime. He's also reportedly a member of ISIS. Now, ISIS did claim responsibility for the attack in a statement, saying the attacker targeted Christians as a, quote, soldier of the Islamic State, seeking to avenge Muslims in Palestine and everywhere. Boy, oh boy, what do you think they have planned for us here? You know who could stop it? The Gays for Palestinians. They love those people. Yes. Are you mad? They're coming for you and Hollywood and all of the immoral people first. Then they'll get to the churches to burn them down to the ground. The leader of the center-right Christian Democratic Union Party said, quote, after the recent terrorist attack, it should now be clear it's not the knives that are the problem. What? But the people who carry them around. In the majority of cases, these are refugees. From what country are they refugees from? And in the majority of the crimes, Islamist motives are behind them. Now that took Germany by shock. Immigrants make up around 15% of Germany's population, but they were responsible for a record 41% of criminal activity in 2023. Now, how did Germany get to this point? Well, in 2015, the then German Chancellor Angela Merkel committed her nation to accept 1 million refugees. And the crowd went wild. Everybody was thrilled. Primarily, they were from Syria, Afghanistan, and Iraq. What could go wrong? But as national polling confirmed in the months after Merkel threw open Germany's doors, most Germans didn't want the massive influx of immigrants. Thought it kind of changed their neighborhood and brought it down a little bit. Almost a decade later, Germany is reaping the consequences. Germany's failure to deport the Syrian man who murdered 3 people at a small-town festival is not an isolated incident. All the major Western European powers fail to keep up with deportations, consequently deal with the problems of repeat offenders. What could go wrong with 73% of a population being male? In France, of the illegal immigrants who are ordered to leave, only 7% actually do. Now, who could have seen this coming? And who would be stupid enough to say, this is happening and coming to a theater very near you in America? Even the New York Times admitted it last week in a report about a 24-year-old Nicaraguan migrant who was accused of rape. What? They're good people. The federal ICE agency claims they had intended to deport the man when he was first charged with rape. But when his alleged victim declined to testify, he agreed to plead guilty and it was a felony assault charge, not rape. So he was released the same day. Are you out of your mind? He was here illegally. I don't care. He did the crime. He pleads guilty to a lesser crime. Get his ass on an airplane far away from America. His case fell through the cracks. They were going to do that. But New York City, it's a sanctuary city. So ICE wasn't notified that he was back on the streets. Last month, he allegedly raped another woman at knife point. He's since been caught and indicted and is now jailed in Rikers Island. Oh, good. I'm glad we're paying for the rest of his life. The same self-destructive agenda being carried out by the globalist progressive leaders in Europe is being followed by the Democratic Party in the U.S. We are barreling down the exact same path. And it's not just my opinion. Even common sense Europeans are pointing out the obvious truth. Here's an op-ed. It was earlier this year. It was titled, "Europe is Finished." That's the editor of London's Sunday Telegraph. There's no way back for a European continent that has embraced nihilism, post-Christian paganism, illiberalism, and the politics of envy, that believes that saving the planet requires shutting down successful industries and impoverishing its own people, that cannot face down Islamist extremists and anti-Semitism, and that won't reform its welfare state. Gee, I don't think I could have said it better. I mean, if he hadn't said European continent, you would have thought he was describing the United States now, wouldn't you?